The Green Knight. So I saw this on Thursday with my girlfriend. This was the one we won. Jungle Cruise was a nice little. I'll admit, Jungle Cruise is a nice little move. This is the one that when we saw the trailer for, I'm like, okay, Arthur mythos, Arthurian lore, the tale of the Green Knight and Sir Gawain or Garwin, depending on the pronunciation. This is the one that caught our eye, and so we saw it. What did I think of it? I liked it upon initial watching. There are problems with the film. It's not perfect, but I liked it upon initial watching. But it's actually one of those films that the more you think on it and think about like the symbolism, um, the meaning behind things, what's going on, what does this represent, that's when it starts to, you actually start to appreciate it more after the viewing. This is also a movie that I don't think I'd watch again, not because it was bad, but because I saw it the one time and I don't really want to sit through a slog fest. Because if this film suffers in anything, it would be its pacing. And that, because there are scenes in this movie where you are just watching someone walk for about a minute and a half too long. Now, I get it. It is about the journey and the vastness of the world. And Gawain, coming to terms with, A, mortality, B, fate, and all that. Well, sorry, one second. And things along those lines. At least in this version of the story. But still, it is paced at almost at a dragging speed at points. Now, once he gets into situations where he's interacting with individuals, that's when it does become a lot more engaging, sure. And it's beautifully shot. It's a gorgeous looking film. As far as I can tell, they did shoot in Ireland. It is a gorgeous to look at. So I can't say that there isn't something to appreciate even with just like the landscape of where he's walking, but it's just too slogging at points. That said, however, this is a very well made film. This is a very well made film. Obviously, it's the tale of Sir Gawain, or again, the pronunciation, because they call him Garwin, but there's no GR in his name. But it might be like the old Celtic pronunciation. I think it's Gawain or Gawain. I'll go with Gawain for now. But Sir Gawain, and the story of the Green Knight. A Green Knight. Morgan Le Fay summons a Green Knight to test the Knights of Camelot and bring Guinevere to death. Now, that's not the actual, as far as I can tell. The problem with the Green Knight's story is that there are multiple interpretations of Arthurian lore and multiple interpretations of the story. The Valiant Sword, the one with Sean Connery as the Green Knight, was another interpretation of this story. And it completely diverges from the Green Knight story as well, from Arthurian lore. This one is definitely much closer to the Arthurian legend, the story anyway, that we get. And I know that because I made sure to look it up. What is like the basic tale of the Green Knight. I made sure to, just angling this a bit better, made sure to look it up beforehand. And yeah, this one follows the story much closer. About, how the Green Knight comes, challenge. And if you don't know the story of the Green Knight, this is no spoiler for the movie because, well, I guess it is, but it isn't because it's based on a legend that's existed for God knows how long. Like hundreds upon hundreds of years. So, spoilers, I guess? But basically the story is, on Christmas Day, in Arthur's court, the Green Knight shows up. And he is summoned by Morgan Le Fay. Ultimately, the goal of the Green Knight was to test the knights and scare Guinevere into death. So, hopefully, Gawain may assume the throne at some point, or Morgan Le Fay may assume the throne at some point. But the Green Knight comes and issues a challenge. One of your knights land a killing blow on my neck. I will not block. I will not defend myself. I offer my life willingly. But should I live, I may turn that strike in kind with the same force you gave to me. And so Gawain's the one who comes to challenge the Green Knight, takes off his head, but the Green Knight is not human. So, he puts his head back on. And now in the Valiant Sword movie, Sean Connery is about to take off Gawain's head, but he's like, no, I came to challenge a man, not a boy who does not even have his beard. I'll give you 1 month. or give me 1 year to grow your beard. One short year, or like and so short months. And so that is, he's got a year and he has these, quest adventures, kind of growing as a person, understanding who he is until he confronts the Green Knight again. Now, without going into too much on how the movie does end, if you haven't heard the Legend of the Green Knight, I won't go into too much. But basically, yes, Gawain does meet the Green Knight again, and the challenge is completed. Now, that said, what happens, the Gawain is very interesting in the story. Now, in the movie, we get a lot of different, him needing to feel. He gets mugged at one point. He helps a spirit at one point from St. Winifred. He meets the lord and lady of a certain castle. And the story beyond that, there's many things just, taken from the story. And it's all just really well performed. Dave Patel, I like the fact that they don't seem to need to address the fact that he is Indian. And that apparently Morgan Le Fay is Indian. Yet he is Arthur's nephew in this. Like, it doesn't even say half or stepsister. It just calls Morgan his sister in this, and that he would be the rightful heir to the throne afterwards. I like the fact they don't bother to address that. I just appreciate that. And Dave Patel. Dave Patel is a great actor regardless. I love Dave Patel. But more importantly is that Dave Patel is one of those guys who, without talking, can just give you the impression of what he is feeling. He is one of those fantastic visual emoters. You can just look on his face and know what he is feeling in the moment. There's a sequence near the end. There's like 1.5 to 2 minutes, I want to say. Maybe even longer, actually. Like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that, near the end, where it's just him visually acting with his face, his body, his emotions, just on his face, no dialogue whatsoever. And it's like you can still just feel everything this man is going through. All the pain, the sorrow, the bits of joy he has. Like, it is fantastically done. I remembered, I've seen the guy who plays the Green Knight before. The Green Knight is not, now the Green Knight is important because he's the title character of the movie, but he's not in a lot of the movie. But when he is on screen, he is very much a presence. You feel this guy's like, there's something off. And by the way, for any night, by the by, if a guy comes in and now here's the thing, in like the Sean Connery movie, he looked pretty much like a normal guy for the most part. He like had gold skins, all that, but he looked more or less human. But if a guy looks basically like Treebeard's younger, more a sword-bearing cousin, maybe don't accept an offer to take his head off, because it might not do the trick. It's clearly, it is clearly something you don't want to do. Because it's clear there's a catch to this game. So, yeah. But yeah, the Green Knight, I love the guy's voice. I can't remember the guy's name. Hold on, the Green Knight. I'm going to find out his name. See, I've got my computer up here. I might as well have this up here. The Green Knight, he had a great voice. Like, he had the perfect voice for the Green Knight in this. It's like, it was a really cool voice. You hear it in the trailer, too. The Green Knight itself, or himself, was played by Ralph Ralph or Ray. I think it's Ralph. Innocent. There we go. Yeah, so Mother Sarita Cloudhurry, who I've seen, she was in Jessica Jones season 2, known as Mother, but they make a point of not telling you that's actually Morgan Le Fay, by the way. But no, it's just Mother. Mother. Joel Edgerton and Alicia Vikander as the Lord and Ellis. They were fantastic. Like, their scenes were really good. Alicia Vikander has a great monologue about the color green and what it represents. Why the night is green, because it's not this Earth. But Earth, green is the color of Earth. And she goes on this monologue. It's a great monologue, absolutely. It's fantastic. It's... Me and my girlfriend were talking about, like, symbolism and what certain things mean in the movie. There's a fox that follows him around. You see it in the trailer, and they say, "Where to? You must not go." And he, like, swings at the fox. That fox is actually prevalent throughout most of the movie. And we're debating what the fox was, what it meant. Did it symbolize his courage or something like that as he was growing? Then he just parted with it. What exactly does the lots represent? Ultimately, it does come to the final part of the movie where he confronts the Green Knight. And I will say this: well, I do think it's a good ending. I would have at least liked 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes more explanation beyond that. Because if you don't know the end of the Green Knight story, then that ending is just like, okay, well, what does that mean exactly? You see, I did the finger. I'm not saying what it is, but if you know it, you'll get it. So ultimately, here's the thing. I will not talk about the end of the movie because I do want to talk about the end of the movie. So if you don't want to be spoiled about how the movie actually ends, stop at the 11-minute mark starting now. Okay, so we're going into spoilers how it ends. So in the legend, so in the movie, he confronts the Green Knight. The Green Knight comes in about to take his axe down, but he hesitates. He's like, "Why do you flinch? Did I flinch? You've had a year to grow your courage." It's like, I could have 100, and it wouldn't be enough. And so he ultimately flees in dishonor and cowardice. Now, the beginning of the film, his mother gave him a belt, an enchanted belt that would not be cut down no matter what. And he later gets the belt back. And so we see then this whole, long, basically silent, just the music and the facial acting telling the story of what happened when he got back. He became named king. He had a daughter, or he had a son with his lover, but he left his lover for a new queen. Who gave birth to another child. His son was lost in battle. It's clear as you see his progression that all the guilt, his dishonor has been weighing on him all these years. And then finally, when Camelot is being invaded, he basically just says, "Yeah, nope, time's come." And he reveals his belt, and he's been keeping the belt on the whole time, even when he made love, he kept the belt on. And he takes off, and then his head just goes, symbolizing that, yeah, no one will be able to take you down, but should you remove the belt, I'm guessing any injury you would have sustained, there it is. Or maybe it was more like a metaphysical injury. But then you cut to the reward. It's a vision of what he basically has a vision, like a light flashing before your eyes, except it's your future, of basically the man that he's going to end up becoming. And he realizes he doesn't want that, so he tells the knight to wait, takes off the belt, and just says, "I'm ready." And the knight stops, and he looks at him and just says, "Well done, knight. Well done." And he just looks at him, just kind of gives him a look on the face, and just goes, "Off with your head." Now, and that's where it ends in the movie. Now, in the legend, it does go on further. Now, to talk about what happened in the actual story in the legend, you have to go back to the Lord and the Missus, Lord and his wife's scene. With the Lord and his wife, he basically says, let's play a game. I'll offer you anything I can, but anything you receive, you'll offer me in return. So every night, the wife comes and tries to seduce him. And, he rejects and instead gives her a kiss. And he always has to accept a kiss from the Lord. Or always has to give, the Lord several kisses as well. Until eventually, in this version, he just runs off and no longer wants to accept it. So, but you see, the problem here is that didn't really happen in this version. Instead, what we got is the Lord, confronts him and says, "Is there nothing you can give me? I think there's something you give me." And from the implication we got from the paintings that were symbolizing the story, I thought he was going to try to hunt him. You have your life, you can give me that. But instead, he leans in and kisses him. Okay, were you just attracted to him? Did you want his body? I don't know exactly what this is supposed to be. But that is in the legend. But that's in the movie. In the legend, he leaves, and eventually, when the knight basically spares him, he reveals himself to be the Lord of the manor. And that this was all a ploy by Morgan Le Fay to test the knights at Camelot and try to kill Guinevere through fear. And ultimately, they leave on amicable terms. And, he goes back to Camelot. He was, all the knights, don't look down on him. They understand what happened. And they wear a green sash around him just as he wore. So that is what happens ultimately in the legend. And I don't need all of that. No, though, had you cut down a lot of just the sheer walking by about 3 to 5 minutes, we could have gotten just a brief explanation. We could have. And this clearly doesn't follow it to the T, but this is probably the closest interpretation of the story we've had, at least a version of the story we've had, to be fair. Because, like with all legends, there are different interpretations of the story. So I just felt that a very interesting, interesting way to tell the story and interesting place to end it. Again, personally, I would have liked another minute or two of explanation, but it could have ended with a handshake between them, the amicable parting. Like, okay, there's respect. Respect is given. Respect is earned. Honor has been maintained. You have honor. I would have been cool with that ending too. But at the same time, I can't lie and say that the off with your head and that little cheeky smile on his face, I can't say that still wouldn't have been entertaining. That still wasn't entertaining and clever. So, I mean, on the whole, I do really like this film. I really like it, actually, thinking more on it. I really do. I don't know if I'd say it's the best film. I think it's the best made, like, visually shot, arguably best acted. But I do think like something like Quiet Place Part 2 does have things on it. It's got better pacing, I think. It's definitely more tense, given the nature of the film. Overall, I mean, it's tough. I mean, we'll see where this falls at the end of the year, but right now it's on the high end of my list. But if you've seen it, let me know what you think. Have you heard of the Arthurian lore? Have you heard of the legend initially, before this movie? Or had you never heard of it prior to this movie? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. I've got one other video to do today, and you'll see what it is and why I'm doing it when I do it. But until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Peace.